finished my last video in London, late night, and I'm not gonna lie, it was really hard to get out of bed this morning. It was probably about 1:30 when I got to bed after getting back from the train and everything. So, I mean, this wind is so windy, I'm sure you can hear it. It's definitely waking me up a bit. Just checking round the sheep. So I've checked on the Scotch half-breds, where we topped up the raddle in the last video of the Suffolk tups they're with. In here are the cull ewes and the lambs which weren't big enough to sell. They're in these new seeds, so this is where we cut for hay. Again, I think I had this in a couple of videos, and the grass is really growing in here. So they've had a change of field. All well, all happy. I hope that, I'm really close to the camera, I hope the wind noise isn't too bad because it is so windy here. But I can't remember if it was on here or if it was on Instagram, but somebody asked me about having oilseed rape behind electric fence in a grass field away from the sheep. So, to explain what's going on, behind me is the trial plot. So that is oilseed rape in there. This is just an empty plot at the moment, so's that bit, which we'll be putting something in there. Now that will be shown on our open day in conjunction with Hutchinson's kind of May time next year. The reason it's in the grass field and behind electric fencing, so you can see the electric fencing behind me, there's a stake there. The reason it's behind that is because this is a big grass field where the sheep are. However, this is a temporary lay, so that means it's been grass for a few years and we'll be taking it out to incorporate it back into the arable rotation. The reason for the trial plots here is that it's convenient because it's close to the yard, so on the open day people aren't walking miles to get to it. So hopefully that makes sense. But the electric fence is definitely crucial, otherwise this rape might not be looking so good. It is a bit patchy, but the plants that are there are really, really strong. We have a lamb who unfortunately must just taste nice. He is repeatedly getting maggots, so we are on high alert with him. He's been dipped twice. Now, as I said, I keep a really close eye on him, and this morning he was just lying down in the field and he was just turned his head around just to scratch on his back. Now, for most sheep, they would probably literally just be scratching an itch. However, we thought we better come and catch him. He's just ligged out here. He looks basically like he's dead, but actually he's just quite friendly now and knows the drill. Now here he has maggots. You can hardly see any dark wool. He's not dirty, but when you part the wool, you can see, hopefully on this video, that it's a little bit dirty in there when you look close in. And then you can actually see, there we have a few maggots. So hardly any, hardly broken the skin, I would say. And it's all about being vigilant, absolutely vital to keep watching. And particularly if you get one which keeps getting targeted over and over. You can see here him kind of nibbling is showing that it's relief for him. As you can see, the patch affected really is not big at all. Just that tiny little bit of discoloured wool in there. But maggots can take hold so quickly. So actually when you feel it as well, it's a little bit warm to the touch in this area. And hopefully you can see that. Just a few small maggots in there. Now the next thing that we do is we just tip a bit of just normal water on there, and basically it brings the maggots out to the top. I sometimes see groups and things on Facebook where people, a sheep, they think it's got maggots and they have no idea what to do. Well, if you have no supplies whatsoever, the best thing, you could even use a bit of washing up liquid in the water, and that brings them out. My mum here is literally just scraping these out with her hands pretty much. There's a couple of red bits there, not blood, they're actually raddle off my mum's hands. We've just been marking the tups. now just checking closely to see if there's any maggots left in there. Here we are, one of the horrible things, absolutely hate them. Now, just going to show you in here, because we've caught this really early, you can see that the skin isn't even broken, which for us obviously is the best thing, fantastic for the lamb, because it means that he is going to be sorted basically as soon as we let him get back up. My mum looks a bit like a monkey picking for grubs, but just double checking to make sure that we have cleared out all the maggots in there. As you can see, we're not wearing gloves because we've just kind of caught him in the field, but you could wear gloves if you wanted. The product that we're applying now is Battle's Maggot Oil, which is really a great product. Repels the flies a bit, but also soothes the area as well. I think the interesting thing I've seen this year with a fair few sheep getting maggots is it's not necessarily because they've got dirty bottoms. These have started in a completely clean bit on his back/side. We're going to give him a few nuts now, and look how good this dog is. The entire time we've been doing this, he's just sat there and just waits for us to be finished. And here we go, this is the sight you want to see. Happily up and grazing. You can see the wall we just trimmed off there, and he will be right as rain now. Look at this dog. Ralph, come here. He has got raddle all over him. What are you doing? If you just saw him from a distance, you'd actually be quite worried he had blood on him, but it is just raddle from the bucket. But happy with that sight. We will continue just to keep a really close eye on him. Really strange that he's so prone to maggots, but unfortunately he is. No, Ralph, you're not sharing. You're not sharing. No. So I have just found a broody hen. Broody, if you don't know, is when they decide that they want to sit on eggs and hatch chicks. The only thing is we don't have a cockerel, so if they sit on any eggs, it will literally come to nothing. They'd be sitting there forever. But just found this girl here behind these gates, tucked in the corner of this barn. It's not really a good time for them to be getting broody now, because we wouldn't necessarily, even if I had some fertile eggs, I wouldn't necessarily want her to be coming off with chicks now. So I've just tried to lift her off and check if she does have any eggs underneath her. And all that she has underneath her is this tiny little egg. So if you think how big a hen's egg usually is, and then this is what she's sitting on. So that is certainly not going to come to anything. If you crack these as well, they are usually just egg white. They don't usually have a yolk inside them. Currently in this field which we ploughed the other day, I did a little stint ploughing as well. I haven't done much ploughing, but I've just come down to switch over with my dad. He set off and just got started. I've had a quick bit of lunch and now we're switching over to go over this with the uni press, so it has kind of tines, and then the roller, I was using it in my last video I think. Now the reason for ploughing this field is because it was wheat last season and it will be going in with barley. So if there's any volunteers are the little bits of wheat which get spilt and then grow again. It will affect the barley sample. Combining times are different, so if there's too much wheat in it, it'll be very obvious. It'll be green, nowhere near ready to go through the combine, and the barley will be ripe. So that's why we're ploughing it, to make sure any of those seeds which would create volunteers are underneath the ground and we get a good seed bed and a good sample of barley. This is the headland here, so always going to be a bit more compacted, but this has been ploughed and then this has been gone over with the machine, so you can see it's doing a good job of breaking down some of the clumps. Luckily on GPS again, which does make our lives a lot easier. You can see the machine at work there. Hopefully I'll just get a little bit of those legs on the front, followed by the roller. I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the video, but I find, particularly when it's being ploughed, you can see the soil types, different soil types, quite nicely. So this here is looking pretty easy working, a bit lighter. There's no big heavy clumps of soil. And when you compare it to this soil here, which is starting to get a bit more kind of clumped up, some bigger chunks, particularly in front of me there, you can hopefully see quite a big difference. Now this isn't the heaviest soil ever, but it's just interesting to see the difference across the field. When you're ploughing, those changes in soil type can have quite a difference on the ploughing, and it actually does make you go a bit wonky. Keeping the plough in a straight line is a bit harder because the forces as you go through soils with basically kind of different resistance put different draft forces on the plough. So albeit you might think you're driving in a straight line, the soil can have an impact almost on pushing you out of line. It's quite simplified, but yeah. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad tractor driver if your ploughing isn't always perfectly straight. A bit of an update on the weekend on the farm. I didn't really film anything. We're cracking on with drilling. We've had a mixed bag of weather, got rained off a little bit, but also cracked on, and we're rolled up to date now, which is fantastic. On the sheep side, we're having a bit of a nightmare actually. We have had, I think, 6 sheep with maggots, starting with a tiny patch on the middle of their back. They're clean, they're not, they don't have dirty bottoms, they've been dipped twice. Luckily we've caught all of them before the maggots have broken the skin really. One of them we had to put a bit of blue spray on, but all the other ones it's been a case of just clipping the wool and some maggot oil to soothe and bring the maggots out, and they've all been absolutely fine, but we're having to be really vigilant on that. I'm not sure if anybody else is having problems who watches my videos on here, but on Instagram I have seen plenty of people struggling, and again, not on dirty back ends where you'd expect the flies to be, kind of shoulders, armpits, and down the back of their like shoulders there as well. So not ideal, but we're keeping a really close eye on them. When it comes to maggots, I think once I spotted the first one, I then just kind of tuned in to keep looking and watching, and even if they weren't kind of showing real major signs, some of them weren't even particularly turning around to itch or nibble, which shows how early we'd caught it. There wasn't even really a discoloration in the wool, but it was all about just kind of watching them, seeing if they were standing a bit weird, or yeah, that discoloration in the wool. But none of them had got that telltale really dark dirty wool. It was just a tiny bit browny. But anyway, that's sheep for you, just all about being vigilant now. Whilst I've been filming this, I've got a little friend, Fern and Albie. Hey Nala. Hello. Hello, she probably wants her breakfast. She's so friendly, the kids, it depends what mood they're in. Sometimes they're friendly, sometimes not. Good girl. But she's really good, she's lovely. Aren't you, Nala? But they've grown so much, Albie and Fern. She's got a tickle. Hey Fern. Good girl. They're lovely though, such characters, but an absolute nightmare, and sometimes I think my mum and dad wish I'd never got them. So today I'm at the farm now, but I'm heading all the way down to Truro with Lizzie. It's for another kind of phase of the NFU education project. 2 very exciting visits. No idea if I'll be able to film them or not, so hopefully you'll be able to get an idea of what I'm doing and some proper footage. Otherwise, I'll try and give you a bit of a debrief about what we get up to. Well, down in Cornwall, and this morning's trip is to see a methane tractor. Now this is something which I don't really know anything about. I think we'll also hopefully be seeing the cows on the farm which are producing the methane. Technicalities of that definitely need explaining because, as I said, I don't really understand it. So here we are, and this is what we're here to see. This is a New Holland methane tractor. We're going to be learning all about where the methane comes from and how it powers a tractor. But of course, with all the filming we're doing, aiming it at primary school children and helping them learn about what farmers are doing to help the environment, producing food. So the whole point of the tractor is that basically, apart from the fact we are filling it with methane, the whole point is that you don't know any different from the look of the tractor, the feel of the tractor, how it drives. I did ask, are people actually buying methane tractors? And yep, over here and in Europe, they are selling methane tractors, which is fascinating. You never know, could well be the way forward. Powered by nature, there we go. Just arrived at the dairy farm where the cows here produce the methane. Well, all cows are producing methane, but here they gather the methane. Calves here in their igloos, looking absolutely fantastic, really settled. Got everything they need in here. We have just arrived at, I hope I say this right, Plowing farm, I think. So they have pasture-fed beef, so grass-fed beef, and turkeys as well. The turkeys are what we are going to be filming today. Seems maybe a little bit premature considering Christmas is a couple of months away, but when this video comes out for the children, it will be the last day of November, I think. So it will all make sense, hopefully, when the video comes out. And obviously one of the things we can touch on in the video is the fact that farmers are prepping months in advance for the food which goes on our Christmas dinner plates. So fingers crossed for the weather. It's grey and windy. There's a yellow weather warning for wind, so we're going to hopefully get cracked on. And then back on the road, 7 hours back to Yorkshire or so. Oh my god, look at them go. They're so inquisitive, aren't they?
Yeah, I see. And this is like filming with them. Really difficult because they all look like they need to come together. But it's just because they're all like...
They also, as well as being in that shed, have the opportunity to be outside as well and look at them. Apparently they love visitors. Interesting to see turkeys, as when Lizzie and I used to work in poultry, we only dealt with chickens, so I never saw any turkeys. But what an amazing setup they have here to roam outside and then also back in if they want to. Well, in very good timing, it has just started raining. We've got all of our filming done. Been fantastic to learn about the turkeys, how much goes into looking after them, and quickly have a visit to the farm shop where the turkeys get sold at Christmas. But from Cornwall, that is it for this week. Thank you as always for watching, and please do like and subscribe to my channel.